Good morning, Sangha.
Morning.
My name is Kunga Nyima, and I am one of the Dharma teacher interns. So I'm really happy to be here today with you all in person. So nice. The Rituals and Practice book that you have in front of you or is in the chat box online, we're on page 7. And we'll start the service with the 3 refuges. Please stand.
I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving, supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be freed from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. The Heart Sutra. Dhamma Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion, from the deep practice of prajna paramita, perceived the emptiness of all 5 skandhas and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind, no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance, no old age and death, nor extinction of them, no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore, the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. Away from all perverted views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant fearless mantram, the utmost supreme mantram, which must be capable of eliminating all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhisattva. Dhamma prajna paramita Hridaya Sutra.
Morning.
Good morning.
Before talking about the topic of today, I wanted to say a few words in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which we will celebrate tomorrow. The Buddhist Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh called Dr. King a bodhisattva, an enlightened being, trying to awaken other living beings and help them move towards more compassion and understanding. Dr. King is known for many activities and accomplishments that exemplify this title. There is one quote of Dr. King from the Pulitzer Prize-winning biography called Bearing the Cross by David Garrow that for me really seems to illuminate Dr. King's approach to try and conquer hate with love. Dr. King stated in one of his protest speeches, "If we are arrested every day, if we are exploited every day, if we are trampled every day, don't ever let anyone pull you so low as to hate them. We must use the weapon of love. We must have compassion and understanding for those who hate us. We must realize that so many people are taught to hate us. They are not totally responsible for their hate." Inspiring words for us to remember as we honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. tomorrow, one of the world's great bodhisattvas. Thank you. The title of today's talk is Life is Impermanent. In this teaching, I first want us to consider the impermanence of our human life. Second, to think about how we can use this fact to deepen our practice. Lastly, I will discuss one of the strategies, the 5 remembrances, that can be used towards meeting this goal. There is a Buddhist teacher who has used the simile of a rainbow to describe human life. Human beings, like rainbows, are beautiful and fleeting. Rainbows are dependent on just the right conditions created by atmospheric conditions, and when these change, the rainbows disappear. Humans also cannot exist without the right combination of elements. Rainbows are visual phenomena that only appear when sunlight, water droplets, and the human eye come into contact with each other. If one of these elements is not present, the rainbow will not exist. Rainbows only exist for a brief time and will fade with the movement of the sun. On the surface, it seems obvious that human beings are more solid and long-lasting than rainbows. Rainbows last for moments. Human beings live for decades. Rainbows are optical illusions and cannot be touched. Human beings have mass and weight, can be held, and feel solid. But if we look more closely, we can see that our ideas about human solidity and longevity are relative, and maybe that our lives are not as solid and long-lasting as we think. If you look at a human being at the atomic level, you will not see any barrier of skin separating the atoms of ourselves from the atoms of the environment. The fragility of our human form is obvious when we consider leaving Earth and identifying what is needed to allow life in space or on another planet. In these inhospitable places, we are aware of our body's dependence on the invisible elements of life: air pressure, gravity, oxygen, and the heat which our Earth environment provides. The 70-plus year lifespan of the average human being can seem like an eternity to the life of a rainbow. But in relationship to geological time, it is insignificant. Geologists currently estimate the age of the Earth at 4.5 billion years old. Compared to the life of a mountain, which takes place over millions of years, human life can appear as brief as a rainbow. Rainbows gain their beauty from the way the elements of light and water come together to create a prism that reveals the incredible variety of colors hidden in normal white light. According to Buddhism, human beings can also exhibit beauty. When, like a prism, they display all the qualities of human beauty in their actions, speech, and thought. Everyone dies and everything changes over time. We call this reality impermanent. And understanding and accepting this truth is a core teaching of Buddhism. We all know from our own experience that nothing lasts forever and everything is in a state of flux. We only need to look at a family photo album to see how we have changed in appearance over the years. Even as the pictures document our own journey from baby to toddler to adolescent to adult, they also reveal our parents' and grandparents' passage from youth to middle age to old age and death. Everywhere we look, the truth of impermanence is self-evident, yet many of us still seek the illusion of eternal youth. America has been described as a death-denying culture due to our focus on health and vitality. Commercial advertising saturates the internet and other media outlets with images of young, attractive people selling products that are often meant to make us look and feel younger. The smaller number of advertisements geared towards older Americans also frequently features active seniors living, playing, and exercising just as much as adults 20 to 30 years younger. This sterilized version of reality suggests that if death ever happens, it is unexpected or accidental, rather than a part of the natural process of life. As a hospice social worker, my experience of death is in sharp contrast to those portrayed in the mass media. In my experience, death usually comes about through a gradual but unavoidable process of physical decline. Even though most of the people I visit would like to die overnight in their sleep without experiencing any loss of independence, many of them are bedridden for weeks to months prior to death. They experience a loss of energy and appetite that forces them to conserve their resources and begin thinking about the meaning of their life and impending death. In contrast to the false story of eternal youth sold to us by popular culture, Buddhism teaches that all living things are impermanent. They grow old and die. Accepting the truth of this observation helps us to better appreciate our life in the present moment. In contrast, The process of telling ourselves that we never get old and never die is a form of self-hypnosis. The hypnotized person is blissfully unaware of their actions until the hypnotist snaps their fingers, and then they are shocked to discover the extent of their foolishness. In the Kunga Sutta, the Buddha provides teachings about impermanence to his monks, following the death of the senior monk, Shariputra. As Hung Su discussed last week, Shariputra was one of the Buddha's most accomplished and wise monks. So his death was greatly mourned by the Sangha. In this story, Ananda tells the Buddha that he is feeling overwhelmed. Lord, just now, Kunda the novice said to me, Venerable Sir, Venerable Shariputra has attained total unbinding, death. Here are his bowl and robes. Ananda goes on to share his feelings of intense grief. It was as if my body were drugged. I lost my bearings. Things weren't clear. Things weren't clear to me. On hearing this, Venerable Shariputra had attained total unbinding, death. The Buddha responded, But Ananda, haven't I already taught you the state of growing different with regards to all things dear? The state of becoming separate, the state of becoming otherwise. What else is there to expect? It is impossible that one could forbid anything born, existent, fabricated, and subject to disintegration from disintegrating. The Buddha then provided a simile to help Ananda understand better. Just as if the largest limb were to fall off a great tree composed of heartwood, standing firm. In the same way, Shariputra has attained total unbinding, death from the great community of monks, composed of heartwood, standing firm. What else is there to expect? It's impossible that one could forbid anything born, existent, fabricated, and subject to disintegration from disintegrating. The Buddha is not saying that we should not grieve a loss. In fact, he goes on to recommend to Ananda that in order to deal with their grief, the monks should take refuge in themselves and the Dharma, the teachings. One way to take refuge in the Dharma is to make some conscious decisions about what we choose to think about on a regular basis. Obviously, there are many things we can think about. So the question is, what are the most important thoughts that could really benefit our perspective on life? The Buddha taught his followers the 5 remembrances as one of the essential things to contemplate in life. The 5 remembrances are, I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. Number 4, all that is dear to me and everything that I love are of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. Number 5, my actions are my only true belongings. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. My actions are the ground upon which I stand. The first 4 topics, aging, sickness, death, and loss, focus attention on the impermanence of life. The last concept, karma, cause and effect, highlight the importance of our actions in life. You may remember that Hung Su introduced the 5th remembrance, our actions are our only true belongings, during his December 26th Dharma talk, in which he reviewed chapter 19 of the Dharmapada. Now let us revisit each one of the 5 remembrances and think about how applying them to our experience can aid us in appreciating life. Number 1, I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. The first topic concerns aging. Despite all the focus on youth in the health and beauty industry, every one of us is slowly aging, and there's no way to stop it. Even if we look younger on the outside, we are still aging on the inside. Just as we celebrate with our children as they reach each developmental milestone, we can also acknowledge the mental and physical decline of growing old and help our elderly loved ones as they face these challenges. Completing advanced directives and helping our parents and grandparents navigate the physical challenges of senior living are two ways to acknowledge the reality of growing old. My wife's mother, for example, has been struggling with memory loss for several years. Since COVID-19, her memory has dramatically worsened. Now, all of her adult children are involved in helping her to try and remain as independent as possible while also being safe. Number 2, I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. Sickness is the second contemplation of the 5 remembrances. I used to look in the mirror and see a young athletic male with no obvious health problems. Now at age 53, my daughters like to point out that I have undergone 7 surgeries for health issues. While some illnesses are not preventable, medical science has proved there are many lifestyle and dietary choices that we can make to live healthier lives. Being mindful of our bodies and the signals they are sending us can remind us of the importance of healthy strategies for managing stress and staying physically and mentally strong. My own heart issue was discovered in a routine medical checkup. Checking in with our doctors on a regular basis is one way to acknowledge the reality of sickness. Number 3, I am of the nature to die. There's no way to escape death. The third remembrance is the contemplation of death. I work in hospice, so I am reminded of this fact daily. But even if I wasn't in the medical field, death would be inescapable. In the last 2 decades, I have witnessed the death of my mother and stepmother, my spouse's father and her brother, and the tragic death of my niece's husband just last year. American culture has been defined as a death-denying one because of our focus on youth and vitality. Despite our fears around talking about death, acknowledging the transitory nature of life can make us more appreciative of life's gifts, which we are enjoying now. In my first Dharma talk, I spoke about how the death of my mother was one of the causes that led me to deepen my Buddhist practice. Recently, I saw an episode of Seinfeld on Netflix where Jerry, George, and Elaine are sitting around the diner talking about the recent death of Jerry's aunt. They all agree that they felt the urge to do something to make their life more meaningful. The joke was that they all quickly agreed that there was nothing they could possibly do to make any difference at all in their own lives. Lucky for us, we do have our spiritual practice and are already on the right path. And for us, it's a simpler matter of recognizing our achievements and continuing forward. Number 4, all that is dear to me and everything that I love are of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. Loss is the 4th idea for contemplation. Buddhism teaches us that everything is impermanent. Everything that we love and possess, we will lose, and this will cause us pain. Our health, our relationships, our possessions, our hobbies, all will be lost as we progress in life on our way towards death. If we understand the transitory nature of this life, we can more easily accept with grace these expected changes. I used to be an avid runner and in my early 20s and 30s, and I even completed 2 marathons. As I've aged, I've injured both my knees, 2 of my surgeries, and lost the capacity to run on the road. I am reminded daily when walking the dog that many of my neighbors still enjoy this pastime. At these times, I try to remember that at least I'm still able to walk outside. For many of my hospice patients, being healthy enough to enjoy a walk outside is only a cherished memory. Number 5, my only true belongings. My actions are my only true belongings. I cannot escape the consequence of my actions. My actions are the ground upon which I stand. As Hung Su reminded us in his discussion of the Dharmapada, you can't judge a book by its cover. Gray hair does not make someone a wise elder. A bald head does not make someone a monk. A pretty face does not make someone beautiful on the inside. It is our actions that indicate the true nature of our beings. The final thought to remember is that the only thing which we truly possess are the results of our own actions. Karma is the concept that all of our actions have effects in the world. Our thoughts are the causes of our actions. Contemplation of the impermanence of life, sickness, aging, death, and loss increase our appreciation of the world and other living beings with whom we share it. This reminder encourages us to see the connection we have with all forms of life and seek ways to reduce the suffering of all beings. The teachings on the 5 remembrances can help us overcome our personal suffering and grow a healthier perspective, more realistic than that of our death-denying culture. As the Buddha reminded his attendant Ananda at the time of Shariputra's death, what else is there to expect? It's impossible that one could forbid anything born, existent, fabricated, and subject to disintegration from disintegrating. Thank you. We will now sit in meditation.
morning, Sangha.
Good morning.
We had a precept graduation November 19th, I think, and one of our preceptors was unable to attend. So today we're going to make that right and graduate Therese. Come on. So the process of being, of taking the precepts is a basic, it's a declaration that you are going to formally follow the Buddhist path. And there's a process that we do this over a 3-month period. You meditate for 30 minutes every day. You do a total of 2,000 prostrations. You study the precept and reflect on it, how it unfolds in your life. And you read the Dharmapada, which is a wonderful book that gives some detail on basically all Buddhist teachings can be wrapped up into that one little book in some way, shape, or form. So that's it, right? Oh, well, no, it isn't. There's one more thing, and that's the memorization. And there's memorization of something we call the atonement reflection. And Therese, are you ready to try that?
With my cheat sheet, yes.
With your cheat sheet. Okay.
You're gonna meet all that?
Oh, good.
Okay. For so many lifetimes, I have made mistakes that have caused me such suffering. All of us hold on to internal formations. Sometimes we cannot look at each other. We lose our capacity to listen deeply and to speak loving and harmonious words. The communication between us meets so many difficulties and obstacles. There seems to be no way to resolve our suffering. Every day, understanding and love are fading. With all my resolve, I touch the earth, determined to follow the teachings of the Buddha.
Good job. All right. Memorization is such an important part of the practice. We can, we're frustrated, we're off kilter, whatever it is during our day. We have something we can remember, it can bring us back to the practice. Deep breath, we're focusing on our breath and meditation, and a little memorization can really shift your day. So, Therese, oh, your stole, yes. One of the, at the end of the precept class, we do a Saturday typically, and there's meditation and last reflections and talk. And then one of the things that we do is I've given the preceptors their Korean name. So what you see with Therese, oh yeah, yes. Thanks. We needed an assistant. So she does not know what that means unless she reads Korean, but she doesn't. So the Dharma name, that's her Dharma name. And the outer meaning of the Dharma name is an obvious connection between you and that name. The inner meaning is how you embody it or struggle with it. And then the hidden meaning is something to cultivate. Once again, like we say when we do the refuge vows. We go to Buddha for my refuge, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be understood thoroughly. That's the practice, cultivating this. It's an unending, eternal practice. So, cultivation is an important word. So now, okay, get myself ready here. Where now? The 5 precepts. I'm going to read the long version just to give you some understanding of the depth of these precepts. we can say the short version, which is I will respect and protect life. But the longer version that Thich Nhat Hanh, a wonderful bodhisattva, has given us, aware of the suffering, I just can't do this. Aware of the suffering caused by the destruction of life, I am committed to cultivating compassion and learning ways to protect the lives of people, animals, plants, and minerals. I am determined not to kill, not to let others kill, and not to support any act of killing in the world, in my thinking, and in my way of life. Therese, do you accept this gift of this precept?
I do.
Number 2, aware of the suffering caused by exploitation, social injustice, stealing, oppression, I am committed to cultivating loving kindness and learning ways to work for the well-being of people, animals, plants, and minerals. I will practice generosity by sharing my time, energy, and material resources with those who are in real need. I am determined not to steal and not to possess anything that should belong to others. I will respect the property of others, but I will prevent others from profiting from human suffering or the suffering of other species on earth. Do you accept the gift of this precept?
I do.
Number 3, aware of the suffering caused by sexual misconduct, I am committed to cultivating responsibility and learning ways to protect the safety and integrity of individuals, couples, families, and society. I am determined not to engage in sexual relations without love and a long-term commitment. To preserve the happiness of myself and others, I am determined to respect my commitments and the commitments of others. I will do everything in my power to protect children from sexual abuse and to prevent couples and families from being broken by sexual misconduct. Therese, do you accept the gift of this precept?
I do.
Number 4, aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others, I am committed to cultivating loving speech and deep listening in order to bring joy and happiness to others and relieve others of their suffering. Knowing that words can create happiness or suffering, I am determined to speak truthfully with words that inspire self-confidence, joy, and hope. I will not spread news that I do not know to be true and will not criticize or condemn things of which I am not sure. I will refrain from uttering words that can cause division or discord, or that can cause the family or community to break. I am determined to make all efforts to reconcile and resolve all conflicts, however small. Therese, do you accept the gift of this precept?
I do.
Number 5, aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption, I am committed to cultivating good health, both physical and mental, for myself, my family, and my society by practicing mindful eating, drinking, and consuming. I will ingest only items that preserve peace and well-being and joy in my body, in my consciousness, and in the collective body and consciousness of my family and society. I am determined not to use alcohol or any other intoxicant or to ingest foods or other items that contain toxins, such as certain TV programs, magazines, books, films, and conversations. I am aware that to damage my body or my consciousness with these poisons is to betray my ancestors, my parents, my society, and further generations. I will work to transform violence, fear, anger, and confusion in myself and in society by practicing a diet for myself and for society. I understand that a proper diet is crucial for self-transformation and for the transformation of society. Therese, do you accept the gift of this precept?
I do.
To the incense? Okay. Oh, yeah. Now, this part of the ceremony, and it's not mandatory, but it's one that it's taking an incense and giving Therese a little burn, which signifies the seriousness of the gifts that she just accepted and will attempt to cultivate throughout her life. All right. Therese, the unveiling of your name. She's been waiting for this. It's Chai Su, cultivation of understanding. Welcome officially to this path. And a mala. And if you don't know what a mala is, it's 108 beads, which is a spiritual number. You could look at it as the eternal or the never-ending symbol of eternity. And we can use these beads just for keeping track of our meditation. So we'd start at, this is called the guru bead, and we go around, we don't have to count or anything. And when you get all the way to the end, you've done 108 breaths. And depending on how fast you breathe, it could be 5 minutes or a couple hours. All right. Uh-huh. Okay, back to you.
We have some announcements to make. Gail? Oh, sure. Sorry.
Congratulations and good morning, Sangha. My given name is Gail. My Dharma name is Katya Sattva, and I'm on the fundraising committee and on the board. So I'm here on behalf of the fundraising committee. So as you probably know, if you don't by now, we'd like to share that we're a donation-only organization in keeping with our practice of generosity and dana. Dana, which is the practice of giving and receiving, is central to Buddhist practice. We have just finished week 2 of our 6-week annual campaign, and it is our hope that we can generate $2,000 a month to maintain the practice and to offer programs and teachings that we would like to continue. Your generosity, of course, keeps the temple open and helps us to share the Dharma, not only here, but in the community. And if any of you that are new would like to know some of the programs that we offer in the community, just talk to myself or the people in gray. Every contribution does make a difference, so please consider, if you can, either increasing your donation or donating for the first time. We would kindly ask that each of you, whatever your ability to give is, that you fill out a pledge form at each end. You can put them in the Dana boxes at each end. You can give through the website. There's an online link for a pledge there. And for those of you who are on YouTube or do YouTube, there's also a link below the YouTube screen. Any questions, please ask myself or Kate, who's over there, and we thank you in advance for your generosity. Oh, I didn't, and that's the most important. Thank you so much. So we've just ended week 2, and we've reached 20% of our goal, which we're really happy about. So thank you to all of you.
Some other announcements from the newsletter. We have a Dharma Sutra discussion group. It meets at 9:35 for meditation and 10 a.m. for discussion. It meets at the temple or via Zoom. It's led by Hung Soo, and you're reading Fragrant Palm Leaves, and it's Thursday. Is that right? Okay. Shane is often a part of that, and so is Therese. There are Buddhist based recovery meetings, meeting at the temple and other locations. Monday at 7 p.m., you can join via Zoom. Wednesday at 6:30, it's the Alano Club. Friday at 10 a.m., it meets at the temple or via Zoom. And that's it. Any other announcements? Okay. So we will have our, please stand for our closing gases. Skillful